So Moro has just absorbed OG-7-3 and explains that he created a whole backup within the android to use as cloud storage. I'll get this out nice and early, but I do understand when people say that Moro looks like a perfect Cell clone now. However, what were you expecting when he absorbs the one being with the most generic design in Dragon Ball history? But what really confuses me is that the people who complain about the form's lack of originality are also the same ones voting it as Moro's best design. Seriously, you can't have it both ways in this kind of discussion. And as for my favourite, just peek at my profile pic. Anywho, Vegeta storms out the crater vowing to age Moro once more, but this time he's unable to land a singular hit on the Devourer. Moro then realises he just has to dodge Vegeta's attacks to nullify Force Spirit Fission, but Piccolo remains optimistic, assuming that they can stall for half an hour for Moro to revert back to normal. And that's when the Tyrant breaks the news that no such time limit exists due to his power returning home. Afterwards, Moro turns into a puff of smoke, seizing the chance to grab Vegeta by the neck, now meaning that he also has access to 7-3's copy ability. The Tyrant lands a devilish combo, putting literal royalty on all fours, before charging up and firing the Prince's own finisher, the Big Bang Attack. Once again, the thumb pose came back to bite Vegeta in the arse, but the most outrageous part is that Moro didn't think that the Big Bang Attack was good enough to deserve its actual name. Oh lord, roasting someone's moveset after violating said person with it is just another level of despicable. Piccolo then concludes that they're even more cooked than before, since Moro now has Force Spirit Fission thanks to Vegeta, so that means he can split Gogeta or Vegeto, making fusion entirely pointless. Overhearing this news, the sentient medkit that is Dende decides to fly to the battlefield, whilst Krillin tries his very best to deliver the Senzu beans to the rest of the Z fighters. Meanwhile, Gohan and Piccolo charge in unison, but they can't penetrate the goat's defenses. Moro uses this time to practice his free kicks before spraying the Ki Blast volley right at Gohan, and I kid you not, Vegeta's technique scared the half Saiyan so much that he made a force field to save his skin. Piccolo reaches for Moro's ankles prior to a direct headshot from his attack. However, the Namekian still lays there determined to not let go, and just as Piccolo thought he was being useful, Moro confirms that he's keeping them all alive to serve as snacks instead of ordering from a Krispy Kreme. Speaking of which, Gohan steals Gotenks' move by summoning the Galactic Donuts to hold the Tyrant in place, allowing for them to activate their trap card. That's where Goku steps in to deliver an instant transmission Kamehameha right at Moro, but the goat is casually holding it with a singular arm. The Saiyan pours the rest of his energy into the Kamehameha, which decimates the entire battlefield, but everyone's combined effort was not in vain since the Ki Wave successfully blew off Moro's arm. This left the Tyrant momentarily flabbergasted, but a missing limb did not stop him from being a complete menace, because Moro strolls towards Goku, looks at him dead in the eye, before regrowing his limb through the Saiyan's chest. I had to put down the manga when I first saw that, because I honestly didn't think they had the guts to make this scene gory for Z standards, let alone the super anime. And what's even more insane is that this trick wasn't intended to instantly kill, because Moro wanted to feast on Goku's energy before he passed on. Just to clarify, Piccolo's gimmicks are benefiting the villains more than himself once again, since Moro keeps the abilities that 7-3 copied forever. Enraged that his father is missing a lung, Gohan rushes in to stop the goat in his tracks, but gets reminded that this is not superhero with a devious backhand, which has Gohan speaking like Daffy Duck. Suddenly, Piccolo receives a telepathic message from Dende that he's on the way to patch everyone up, but Moro proceeds to hop into their Discord server uninvited, now fascinated by the Namekian's healing abilities. He then fires an energy shot, producing a barrier to stop Dende from entering, and gets back to the show by quizzing the androids.
Gun to the back of your head, name 5 DDG songs.
Piccolo then apologizes to Jarko for dragging him into their battle, but the patrolman takes responsibility for Moro escaping their prison to begin with. So as a final hoorah, the Namekian charges up a full power light grenade, preparing to turn everything inside into smithereens. However, the light grenade couldn't get a sniff of redemption from the Cell Saga, because Moro lands the cleanest bullseye with the special beam cannon, and now with Piccolo out, Jarko's the only one remaining in the arena still standing. Meanwhile, Dende is is loathing himself for failing to help protect the Earth as its god, but suddenly the barrier opens thanks to a certain angel who's insisting, as Goku would say, that it isn't over yet. Inside the barrier, Jarko warns Moro to stay back, but the Devourer has zero interest in munching on the patrolman's energy because he doesn't want a stomach bug. Jarko responds by firing his pistol, which Moro isn't startled by, until a second shot enters the scene, exploding the area around him. The tyrant deduces that the bullet was imbued with the patrolman's own ki, and that's when Jarko figures out that he's actually referring to Merus. He apologizes to the patrolman for taking ages to arrive, but explains he's here to complete the final touches of Goku's training. Merus's presence alone had distracted Moro enough for the Z fighters to be evacuated to safety, making the barrier a waste of time. However, when the Goat attempts to track Goku and the others, Merus instantly dashes towards him, initiating combat with his trusty staff. This left Moro puzzled because he swore that he sensed the agent's ki earlier, which now has him suspecting that Merus must be some kind of deity. The patrolman ignores his assumption by dishing out multiple jabs, but when Moro tries to deliver a counterattack, Merus ducks underneath the punch like a game of limbo and clicks the button on his stuff, which has the Goat stargazing. Meanwhile, Beerus is getting sick of doing favors for the rest of the gang, but wants to be certain that then they can heal everyone before heading to Bulma's place to munch on some gourmet. The God of Earth takes a few moments to patch up Goku's gaping wound, but the Saiyan springs to his feet at the mere mention of Merus' name. Goku then thanks Dende for everything before heading off to cease the angel's erasure, and we cut to Moro deploying the I-beams as a distraction to ultimately disarm Merus. Moro proceeds to act like an actual goat before spamming Vegeta's technique once again. However, the angel evades it seamlessly by performing a bunch of jumping jacks, and thankfully had enchanted his staff of loyalty to block Moro's fist. Before the tyrants could grasp the angel's true motives, Goku intervenes in their battle by tapping into UI sign once more. However, the Saiyan must be suffering from a concussion because he really thought he was cooking something delicious, despite Moro having already outclassed Goku in that state. The Saiyan gets frustrated that he can't tap into perfected Ultra Instinct, but Merus reassures that the training did in fact work, now only needing one final push to trigger it. Suddenly, Moro grabs the angel by the neck with the intention of copying his abilities. However, Merus slices his arm off like butter, now ready to begin the sealing process. Beerus then realizes that the angel has started using his powers, annoyed at Whis for not mentioning it, since the Grand Priest will pin all the blame on the destroyer. Meanwhile, Merus explains to Goku of his angelic origins, and uses the force to have Moro looking all goofy, destroying the first crystal mid-conversation. The angel continues, clarifying that he's meant to act as a spectator no matter how ruined the universe becomes, but throughout his time with the Galactic Patrol, a certain something had blossomed within him, a sense of justice. Afterwards, Merus parries all of Moro's blows with such perfection, highlighting the patrol agents as complete fodder on a universal scale. But even then, he still admires them anyway for sticking to their convictions in the face of adversity. The angel resumes his sealing by launching Moro to the stratosphere, and concentrates on aiming his staff to shoot off the second crystal out of 3. That's when Merus concludes his speech by thanking the Galactic Patrol for making him realize that peace in the galaxy is worth hanging on to after all. I love that Merus is the complete antithesis of Zamasu, where despite being a deity much further up the ladder than the Kai, he had actually gained a mortal complex instead. That's why I'm convinced that the Zero Mortals plan wouldn't have brewed up if Zamasu just had the angel as a teacher, since Merus would have properly shown him the good in mortals, unlike Goasu, especially with that first-hand experience. Anywho, Beerus and Whis arrived too late to stop Merus from becoming transparent. However, the angel was dead set on landing one more attack before his inevitable erasure. As he charges towards Moro, Merus reminisces a conversation back in the time chamber, where he was inspired by Goku's countless heroics. The Saiyan tells him that he doesn't think about it too much, since he's more focused on leaving the villains alive for a much better fight later. Merus assumed that Goku's intention was to reform villains like the Galactic Patrol, but the Saiyan says to not give him too much credit, mentioning that he just finds it way more exciting, which leaves the Angel absolutely fascinated. Back in the present, Moro lobs a ki blast at Merus, but he shields his head, blasting right through it. The Tyrant spots this, attempting to launch another one, but Merus has already arrived at Moro's front doorstep, smashing the very last crystal on his forehead to seal the copy ability permanently. Merus notices that he's begun fizzing away, leaving Goku staring in absolute horror. However, the Angel imparts that if the Saiyan can activate Ultra Instinct now, it will be far more stable than before, meaning that he won't possibly lose to Moro or anyone else for that matter. The Patrolman then gives one final message to Goku, like the one that 16 gave to Gohan, affirming that he had truly come to love this universe which bubbles with excitement, and begs for his Saiyan friend to protect it all before vanishing away in a puff of smoke for good. Before Moro had absorbed 7-3, he was battling Goku using his Prime form, which is one of my favourite fights in the DBS manga, so please click here if you're interested.